everyone to the next instalment of printing in the kitchen. Today we're going to do block printing, just go through the very basics and show you the techniques of block printing, the first out of 4 different techniques that we'll do, just using things around the home or available easily from a grocery store or a hardware store. First thing we're going to do is recap on the design process that we went through for the last video. We started just with doing some illustrations, quick drawings. This was food, our topic was food, and I did a bowl of spaghetti, and the inside is just squirrels as in Celtic, talking about the cultural thing. The design was then changed so that it was easier to cut out onto a block. Because we have to use a piece of foam or a piece of poly, you've got to make sure your design is able to be cut easily, and we'll work with this. So I made it straighter lines and a bit chunkier. I then changed it again because I wanted to make it more relevant to me, put it up the right way. It says art, and again, bigger, chunkier, and I did this drawing to suit the size of the block that I'm going to use to print. I then went over my design with a very, very soft pencil and put it onto my block and rubbed like crazy, really hard, with the back of a spoon if you don't want to use your fingernail, to transfer the design on, keeping in mind that if you're doing lettering, you've got to make it in reverse. For example, if you have a look at this, that is a K, because when you print it, it needs to be the other way around. Or an R, that's our R. Now, I have actually painted this one with a bit of paint first before I started to draw the design and cut it out, because sometimes that makes it easier to cut. And all you have to do, this is a steak knife. I found this cut much better with a steak knife from the kitchen, or you use a Stanley knife, both work. Okay. And you just get in and you cut away all the block that you know you're not going to print. You leave up the part that you are going to print. Okay, now I've already done that for this block in my design. Cut it in, you can see it here where I've cut away all the bits that I don't want to print. So now we'll get into the process of printing. You need, first of all, to set up your area really carefully. Have all your paper laid out so that it's ready to go. You need to choose a few pieces of white paper so that the white can have a few practices first before you get started. Then you get some colours. I did a collage and put all sorts of things on top of that. This one's just a collage using tissue paper so that it's overlapping with the sorts of shapes I need for my design. A bit of coloured paper and pattern paper. Now, you start with getting your equipment as well. You need a roller. If you can't have a roller, you don't have that in the house, then a piece of sponge will do the job, but it isn't quite as good as the roller. So if you do have a roller, use that. You need a tray and some paint. I've got a few different colours there. You need your bucket with water ready and waiting because things need to be cleaned immediately. You need to have a rubbish bin handy so that if you've got any things that didn't work, you can throw them straight away. And the last thing I have here is just a padded piece of fabric. It's a rag folded, but be very careful that you don't feel any seams or anything in there, because those seams will turn out onto your print. Right, this is how we do it. You put your paper onto your old piece of fabric or rag. You have to put your block there ready in front of you. You can put lots of paint out. The more you have. Now, if you haven't got any good acrylic type paint, house paint will work, acrylic house paint will work. I even printed once with cocoa, equal parts of cocoa and PVA glue, and made a paint out of that, which actually worked better than I expected, made a lovely brown colour. Right, roll out your paint so that it's really nice and tacky and quite thick. The thicker the better. Now, because this is foam and not a board, you've got to go over it really carefully, trying to take a bit of care with it just to get that surface. Keep it going fairly quickly, because if the paint dries, it won't print very well. And cover all of the surface of your block where you're going that you want printed. A bit more paint on there. Looking pretty good. Try and get the areas that I've missed. Happens all. Once you've done that, you can either put your paper on from the top and line it up, or because you've got the nice padded area underneath, you can put it down and very carefully match up where you want it. And all you do is press. Make sure you press all over the whole thing so that you've got pressure on every part of your image. It doesn't hurt to turn it over and just very gently rub over to make sure you've got it as well. And you have your print. And this is run a little bit with your wet, but you need to print lots of them to keep it going and till you get a new one. I did have this wet before. Keep going for the next one though. You just roll in another one. Each time you print, the first few prints are often a little bit difficult and a little bit, they're not as good, but keep going until you get an interesting image. Different coloured paper, let's try it on the textured paper. Line it up really carefully. Print. And you'll have your image on the other side. Now, always have an area ready before you start so that it's all prepared and nothing and to go. Now, if you don't have a block and you don't have a big enough piece of foam to do, there is another option that you can try. Now, if you have some leaves or objects around there, they have to be fairly flat, don't make them too fat. And just a piece of timber will work, but a piece of foam will work. Just a nice square flat area that will hold paint and you can use for it. To do this, we roll first onto our block, whatever you're using. The original block printing was all on timber and carved out of timber. So you certainly can use it for this. Okay, get it nice and strong. Once you've done that one, get a scrap of paper. Put your leaf with the nice prominent veins on it up and very gently you can print on that. I'm going to try the flower too just to see how it goes. Try a few different areas. The leaf can go down onto my block. It'll stick a little bit to it because of the paint that you've got put down, so you can certainly work that. Try not to touch the surface unless you actually have to. Put it down, put your paper on top and press. You can put a piece of cardboard or something on top of that if you want. It could be easier to do your print. Make sure you press over the whole of the area because you want to get all the little pieces to print. Once you've done that, there we go. One works really well. The leaf and the flower image in the middle. Have a look at that. You can try some block printing just using natural or string or any sort of objects that you think might fit in. Okay. Now, when you have finished, you have to clean immediately. Make sure you don't let any of the paint or anything dry. That's why you have your bucket of water, and get it all cleaned up and ready to go. You can wash your block as well. You do it straight away and use it again. That's what I've been doing for this. Okay, thank you for that. That's the end of this video. The next one will be for etching.